Size?
There's no
Extra
such
small?
thing as enough purple.
Watch. Get there.
I need to give those to
Our goal.
Another time.
Okay. I know.
Well, should we start? You know, it has been hard, and as the semester's gone on, people have trickled in later and later. So, but it's 13:36, so it's a good time to start. Well, welcome,
Thanks.
Alex Lawrence. Thank you for making some time. You're like the hardest guy on campus to
Don't say that, because
nail down.
that is, I mean, that makes me, that's not a good thing.
Isn't it? I thought it means you're busy.
Well, I have 4 or 5 different titles at Weaver. I really do. So, I mean, I answer to a lot of different masters. So, I'm director of the entrepreneurship program. I'm director of USTAR, director of the Research Foundation. I'm vice provost of innovation and economic development, and I'm a visiting professor. So, 5, right? And each one of those is a totally different job. So,
Okay.
it helps understand maybe a little bit why my schedule is kind of wacky, because I might be in Brazil one week and Salt Lake the next, and up here. I like being up here more than anywhere, though. This is my favorite place to be. So.
You say that when you're in Salt Lake?
No, I tell people that, I mean, this is really where this campus has got some electricity about it. There's something about being on campus that's just, there's nothing better. So it really is my favorite place. Wish I was here every day, all day. But I would be doing my job if I did that.
So it is Vice Provost of Economic Development. That's good to know, actually.
Vice Provost for Innovation and Economic Development.
Innovation.
Yes, very nebulous, right? So, and people ask me what a Vice Provost is that aren't in the collegiate world, and I say it's just a made-up college title. Because I don't really know what the definition is. So, anyhow, can do it.
Good. Well, we've been doing lots of different things over the semester. For example, last time we were here, we had Adam Salazar basically talk about his experience in going to the to college science and basically doing requirements gathering and trying to figure out what they needed for a website. Sheree Josephson here. Maybe we should do quick introductions.
Yeah, I know some of you have been around.
This is not everybody. So, David Farrow, dean of this school. Sheree.
I'm the chair of the communication department, and I do eye tracking to understand how people process visual information in new media technologies.
What do you do to do the eye tracking? Do you, what kind of technology tracks their reading in there?
Well, I have an infrared system. I'm getting a new system finally, so it's a, pupil corneal infrared.
I'd like to see that sometime. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun lecture, actually.
Yeah, I'm getting a new system. I got funded.
Congratulations. Oh, wait, from where?
One place that hasn't been made public, and
Okay.
capital funding.
Oh, capital funding. Okay,
Cool.
because they are cities. Okay. And you know Ben, he's over at LT. And Ben gave a talk about basically what's it like to run.
Enterprise level design.
Right.
Keeping it consistent across lots of different apps.
Cool. You guys have been busy lately. I've got my Gone Google shirt I wore the other day.
I could have used it. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Now, you know Rob Hilton,
Yep.
and Rob gave a presentation on basically, well, it's kind of interesting. I'm going to let him talk
No,
about
it's
it.
really good.
Just accessibility, and I think you might have read about JR, our student who's blind that did the iPhone app.
Yep.
And he came in and talked about accessibility issues, what makes a site, what makes a website visible to somebody who can't see.
I have a good friend on Twitter he's back in Maine, and he's blind. And we talk often about accessibility issues, specifically on mobile stuff. And he's always got some, things that I just would never think of.
That's what it was with JR.
We got Spencer Hilton.
Spencer, I think we met a few
Yep, we met.
times, but I'm trying to find something that I could contribute to this group. They all-
Well, we've got the summer. We're going to start it. We're going to do it again in the fall, right? So it's time to think, and it's amazing given all the folks that have been interested in contributing to this. We've filled up the weeks pretty much. I haven't even had a week to myself. I haven't talked to
Yeah,
them.
when's your turn? Oh, that's all right.
Nobody wants to hear. And Brian Rigu, also from CS.
I met with Patrick Thomas today, by the way.
Oh, cool. How'd that go?
Good. Yeah.
He's a brand new hire for us, and
Hmm?
he's a go-getter.
IP type person.
Yeah, he's an intellectual property attorney by trade, but he's also pretty intellectually curious guy. He's got a lot of interests, and I think he's gonna really
He's
help
great.
us commercialize more stuff. I mean, that's his sole job, so it's gonna be cool.
What's his name?
Patrick Thomas. He's an intellectual property attorney by trade, moved here from Washington DC. We had a pretty rigorous application. We had a lot of talented people apply for that job. Some really big names or whatever from other surrounding schools and stuff. It was quite an impressive group, and he emerged as the leading candidate. So he just started, I think, like March 1st maybe. So he's hitting the ground running. But anytime you want to commercialize anything that utilizes your time or campus resources, their office wants to help you do that and contract it, and also help get grant money, get investor money. So
Is he located in the legal department on campus?
no, he's down in the OSP TCL office on the bottom floor of Miller there. So
He said he helps students too. who are-
yeah, the students. Yep. Yeah. So he's working his way around. He's only been here for not even a month yet, but you should go see him for sure.
He's a bit of a Renaissance guy, too.
He's a nice guy too. I mean, he's a easy person to get along with and stuff, which is good. Cool.
Which you can't tell.
Should have signed a waiver before he came in.
Tons of-
This is Laura McLeod from NTM, Technology and Business Multimedia.
So we're offering like a web design course, and we are hiring somebody who's gonna get more into the web, some of the front-end programming, and get more into HTML5 with the web animation.
Cool.
So this is great.
Yeah, it's right up your alley, huh?
Yeah.
I like your hair.
Thank you.
This is Laura Anderson, also from NTM. And you know these two guys.
Yeah, these two schmucks. I've known them for a while.
And they've both taken a week each and talked about stuff that's not that.
These are the kind of students we want to produce, if you ask me.
Yep.
They're already making us proud. I get to see them out in business world, and I get to see the clients. I actually refer business to them all the time, and I get to see these big companies, I mean, multi-$100 million companies that are thanking me for introducing them to these guys for the quality of work that they do, and it's very rewarding. So I just smile and say, yeah, I think so too. I think they're really great. So.
Making us blush.
You guys are good though. They know that if they weren't, I don't do it because I like them, I do it because they're qualified. So that's the reason they get the referral, because it doesn't do me any good to refer work to people that can't produce. Otherwise, nobody wants my referrals anymore. So nobody asks me. So yeah, they do it, but they get it because they earn it. So proud of them. I know, I hate it. That sounds like a dad. I've been watching these guys since they first came in. And it's been 4 or 5 years, I think.
Since they were zygotes.
Yeah. Right.
Well, and there's a few people missing today. We have at least one person from the visual arts department. We've got somebody from psychology who unfortunately took over 1 week, was sick that week, and we haven't seen him since, even though 4 of us did actually read the quite detailed reports that we were supposed to read for the
Preparation, yeah.
journal articles we were
I
supposed
think
to.
I was on that email list.
Yeah.
I didn't make it through that.
And usually James Taylor's, since probably week 4, he's been here too,
Oh, cool.
and having a great time.
And Patrick works for James as a kind of a way to connect the dots there.
Yeah.
So if you know
That's
James,
true.
that's who Patrick works for.
So actually, I'm surprised to see him not here. Although maybe you make him nervous or something.
Yeah, no
But
way.
he reports to you, I believe.
Yeah, James and I are friends. I hope I don't make him nervous. He's also doing a really good job.
And we've got a few other people coming in. There's some of the expert of L3 is going to be here next week or the week after. And then I can't remember what the all this stuff. So one of the reasons that we have these guys here and that I felt inspired to start this seminar up was the discussion that you and I had coming out of Startup Weekend. To some extent, we've talked around in CS about this kind of thing before for a while. How do we talk about user interface design? How do we, the user experience? And in classes, separate classes, across the disciplinary boundaries, whatever. So I thought this is really just an approach to explore it from multiple perspectives to see what is going to make sense going forward. It's been a lot of fun. But since you were part of the process of, one of the catalysts for it, I figured it'd be a good time for you to come in and talk about, and interactively talk about the kind of things that you've seen out there and the needs that exist and how we can make this make sense for the university. What can the university do for the needs?
Yep.
So that's the biggest introduction I was going to give you.
Okay, that's good. So I don't have a presentation or anything, but it's meant to be definitely an interactive discussion. I think the viewpoint, Dave and I talked a few weeks ago, and I've been thinking about this in preparation for today. I think the viewpoint that I want to get across is, so I've been here for 2 years now, just barely, 2 years in a couple weeks. So for those of you that don't know, for the last 21, 22 years, I've been running my own companies. And about half of that was in kind of traditional brick and mortar businesses, so unrelated to technology, although I was always, commissioning new software builds for things that I wanted to automate my business. And I was putting up video cameras and writing programs to pull in all the feeds so I could see them all. And this was a long time. This was like 10 or 15 years ago. Now you can go down to the Apple Store and buy a camera for $99 and watch it from your iPhone anywhere in the world. And so I've always had an interest. The second half of my career, though, is software. 2 software companies. One that I sold, and one that actually they had just heard they had their best day ever yesterday. So they continue to do better after I've left, which is awesome. That's great. That was kind of what I think we were all hoping. So once I got out of the way, they would really fly. So the last probably 8 years, I've been totally immersed in technology, and spend a lot of time. I get to go to some cool events and see new things. I spend a lot of time talking with entrepreneurs and CEOs and senior people in high-growth technology corporations, and so I hear a lot about what these companies need, what they want, what they don't have, what they wish they had. I mean, I hear that every day, in person, via email, social media, and so I think I've got a pretty good feel for what the market is saying, which is, I think, the viewpoint Dave wanted me to kind of bring to bear. And that's really what started this whole thing, is the demand, and these guys can attest to it a little bit as well. And then I also have some ideas just to throw out there for you guys to think about maybe. So I'll just start by saying, in terms of user interface, user experience, and design related to those two, I think those skills, and we can talk about what those skills are the highest demand jobs of any category in any corporation that I am aware of right now. So more than traditional code writing and programming, more than engineering or science or you name it. I think it's probably the highest demand position in the from top to bottom, from CEO down to janitor in these technology companies. They want more of them, they need more of them, and they're willing to pay more for them than any other position I can think of. Maybe like a Ruby on Rails developer is pretty close second, something like that, some of these newer languages and stuff. But and I believe, and there's a lot of other people that both scientifically and anecdotally think that's going to speed up. So the demand that there is now, that's just going to be more of it, it's going to compound. And I think that's true because, have you guys heard the term software is eating the world? You heard that out there? I mean, it really is. Software is replacing everything that's not software. And if you use software, you're going to have a front-end experience with it, right? You're going to interact with it in some way. Mm-hmm. And so if you believe that to be true, which I totally do, then the demand will continue to be up and to the right. So I think that it makes a lot of sense to invest time and energy and effort into it. If you come from the viewpoint that we're in the business of preparing people to have careers, because one of the things I've learned in the last couple of years is some people here don't think about that in terms of their teaching. They don't think about that I'm here to teach you so that you can prepare for a career. They think about it a little bit differently, and I'm not suggesting that's right or wrong. I just don't ever think about it that way. And I think it's probably safe to say most people that pay tuition are doing it because they have, they anticipate that it'll help them get a job of some sort or start a business of some sort or do something where they'll monetize their tuition in some way. There's some people that are just recreational students, for sure. Hopefully, those are the ones that aren't getting student loans. So they're not, you know, I mean, Russian literature is awesome, but I don't know if it would be a thing to go into debt for, right? So,
Well, I think you're in the right college for,
yeah.
I think in terms of careers, anyway.
Well, and I just didn't want to presuppose or assume that everybody viewed the world that way. I just wanted to make sure you knew that's how I was viewing the world. So I can talk to you about dollar amounts, demand, things I've seen. I can talk to you about the kind of competition for positions. I can talk to you about the competitive advantage I think we would have up here if you offered, like I really think it'd be really interesting to offer a minor in user experience and user interface design. That's how this discussion kind of started. So like, for example, I've been working for the last 8 months on an entrepreneurship minor that many of you are probably familiar with at the business school, but it's for everybody. I mean, it's going through the business school, but it's available to every student on campus. There's only, if you're a non-business major, there's one class that you have to take that'll be a three-day class. It's basically a leveling up course to kind of help you understand some of the vocabulary. So I like to say there's no prerequisites, but there is one if you're a non-business major, but it's really an easy one to get around. And then everybody else takes all the same classes. And so I think a minor, because I don't think, you know, well, entrepreneurship I don't think should be taught as a major. I don't think you should graduate with a degree in entrepreneurship. I think that's weird and not useful unless you're going to teach it. I don't think there's a career in that. I think that's something you do off of experience. But I think you definitely could eventually have a major in user experience, user interface design. So that's different. But you could start as a minor, right? That's a lot easier to push through and get a
Certificate or minor or major.
Well, there's a credit hour difference significant between those, yeah.
One of the
I'm
things,
just
though,
wondering how many, what you could
versus
fill up,
18,
yeah.
Certificate's 12,
Certificates, well,
yeah.
the biggest thing I would say about that, though, is this. So a lot of for-profit schools are offering degrees and certificates and other things in things like this. And these students are coming out of, you know, name the technical college or name the for-profit, you know, technology school. I can't remember, DeVry or something, right? Some of those, I can't remember who they are. And they're not getting the jobs. The employers are very disappointed in those folks. And I'll tell you why. A degree, so having it as an offering is good, but employers know that they don't care about a degree, they care about the portfolio of work. So if a person of any age goes to no college and they have a really great portfolio of design work, they will get just as much preference, just as much pay, just as much demand as a person who graduated with a 4-year degree in user experience. They don't care. They do not care. So the thing I would caution you is that a degree or a certificate or a minor would be terrific, but only if, and back me up on this if you or disagree if you like, only if the students came out of that with a really terrific portfolio. Of here's the work that I've done, here's what I've built, here's my, you know, here's what it looks like when I do what I do. That's all they care about. They don't even care if you graduate from high school. It really doesn't matter. And I'm talking the biggest, best companies all the way down to the newest startups. And that's an interesting thing to think about, because if this is going to continue to be a really large, or if it's going to grow into a very large part of the technology workforce, and they're saying, we don't care if you have any college at all, never. We just want to see your portfolio of work.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about a portfolio, because we've been able to get away with not having portfolios in CS just from the strength of our relationships and the understanding of what the program's about, I think. Although maybe I'm wrong.
No, well, yeah, that is generally true. But with our gaming, our students who are interested in gaming, we do encourage them to have some sort of work that they can bring to the table and demonstrate. So we do kind of encourage a portfolio development there. And so the gaming industry is a little bit different because they do want a portfolio and they want a degree. They need both because of the background knowledge that you need in order to get those games, those physics engines up and running.
Well,
So
and
that's
I
the only
wasn't,
area where we really stress the portfolio.
for me, I view gaming as a kind of
It's a niche.
another level above technically. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
I'm talking more, you know, web design,
Mhm.
mobile front-end design, things like that. I really think that as you're thinking about, if you would decide to do this and you're thinking about outcomes, I think every class should have a significant portion of the outcome being, you know, what was additive to your portfolio as a result of this class.
Yeah.
Because if you teach them the technical stuff and how to do it, they don't ask many questions about that. They just don't care. As long as, now, if their portfolio is somewhat mediocre and they have all those skills, then they're probably disqualified for a lot of reasons. But, and the other thing about the portfolio is it needs to be fairly broad. You can't just have built like 2 websites and 1 mobile app
That's what I was gonna
while you've been, you know, whatever you've been doing. They don't care if you've been overseas working on an oil ship. I mean, if you've been doing this in your spare time and you've got, you know, I don't know what the quantity is, but let's say you've got a dozen or so web properties that you've designed the front end for, and you've got a couple of mobile apps, and you've got a couple of web apps and things like that. And they all look and work pretty well, and they're all built in different languages and things that are similar to what the business needs. That'll get you a job, you know, assuming there's a cultural fit, you know how to interview, and you have bad reference. I mean, all that other stuff then comes into play, right? But it's a disqualifier right up front without a portfolio of real, actual work. So there's a very heavily applied nature, I think, to what you guys are considering doing that should be really seriously.
Yeah,
Well, you
there
can
was actually-
teach, like I teach a portfolio course in our department, and the course is becoming more building projects, because they don't, it's a good idea what you're saying. In each course, we've even talked about, in each course, they should contribute to that portfolio.
There was discussion about having it at the university level, this sort of didn't go anywhere.
No, that's a different thing, though.
I
And that's
think-
for assessment.
I think lots of departments had such different needs that they couldn't find one tool that.
Yeah,
And this
which
is really
because we were waiting on
showcasing
that
their
for a few
projects.
but we
years.
could do that obviously for some sort of money.
Well, and if you wanna be the gold unicorn, then have somebody that takes this as a minor or certificate and also has some back-end programming ability. I mean, if you can augment a little bit of that with some heavy portfolio showcasing on the front end, they will write their own ticket. I mean, they will never be out of a job. They will always be well paid. They will always be in high demand. And it's not, they don't have to be excellent at both. Would you guys, if they're excellent on the front end and really have a great portfolio, and they can at least speak the language on how to plug that in to the back end and understand how that works, and maybe write a little bit of code.
So what
Yeah.
computer science course would cover that?
The 2350, I guess, would be a start.
Web development, you mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, like if they were gonna pick up some back.
And then, oh,
Oh, back,
back end?
we've got a server-side
There's
course
a server
that
side
we're
course.
kicking off.
Well,
And
you-
Spencer teaches the
You've taken
front-end technology.
some of these?
Yeah, it kind of depends on what you want to do, because there's Objective-C that you could be versed in, or Ruby, or PHP, or whatever it is, but.
Yeah, it's kind of like, are you going to use .NET, or are you going to use PHP? We've got a few.
One of the things that, we're actually hiring for this exact sort of position right now, having a real hard time finding candidates, and we,
Join the club.
you know, yeah, I mean, it's real tough out there to especially with, you know, university salary,
Yeah.
out there to pull in the right person. We, you know, I mean, any sort of job, we've all seen it, that there's a lot of underqualified and liars who apply for the position, and sorting through that, the only way to really do it in programming and in this UI stuff is to see a portfolio and have them talk through their portfolio and talk through what their experiences have been. And in that same process, if you're looking for an Objective-C, you're looking for someone who's versed in .NET or something like that, you can, if they can talk through that this is what my experiences have been wiring up this front end to a mobile platform.
Yep.
That's going to naturally come as part of the coursework and the experience that they have. If they build a mobile app, they're going to have some experience with different mobile platforms. If they build web apps, there's likely to be some sort of server component that they're going into. And I think it'll come pretty naturally.
I'd agree. So, I had another thought.
While you're thinking about that,
Yeah.
one step further, I just had a student that referred down to Marcus Star when he went in for his interview. I think he had one interview that went back for a second interview. The second interview, they had a keyboard set up, connected to the projector, and they said, okay, let's have you do some stuff. And So it wasn't just a portfolio, it was,
Show
let's
me what
watch
you
you
can
do the work, yeah.
And that was probably a back end, that was probably more of a programmer or
It was
developer
a
position.
database, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty common, they'll just test you with real, that's pretty common. I know what I was gonna say, the other part of this is not just understanding how to design it, but how to test your designs, how to A/B test, how to check analytics and understand how the user actually flows through the product and stuff like that. That's another thing that I think, the expectation isn't that you just know how to make pretty looking things, but you know how to track what users are doing on them and how they're doing it. And that's not very complicated stuff to figure out, but it's something, if you can say, I know how to use Google Analytics, and let me show you what I've done for this site, and how we A/B tested, and these are the different versions we iterated over until we got to this one that converted the most people, and things like that. That is just music to the ears of anybody that's trying to convert visitors into customers, which is most everyone in some way. Maybe you're just trying to get them to sign up for an email or dial a phone number. You're not necessarily getting them to try and purchase something with a credit card, but that applies to almost everybody, I think.
That's what made Cherise pretty interesting, actually, because she actually was tracking how people were looking at these web pages.
Well, an analytics course in the computer science college makes or degree makes I think you have to have it. If you're not teaching, if somebody's not teaching a whole course on how analytics works, then you're missing it, because you're building all this stuff, you're designing all this stuff. What for?
Yeah, it's in a vacuum.
So that people will use it, right? And so that people will interact with it. Well, how do you know how they interact with it? You've got the most powerful marketing tool ever invented in the history of the world, analytics. You get to follow a person around the store and look over their shoulder and watch every little thing they touch and do and try on and put. I mean, you don't get to do that in the real world. It's the greatest marketing tool ever. So if you don't have, you really should have one class. This is outside of UI UX, but it would plug into it. I definitely think you have to have a class. I'm assuming you don't already on analytics. That's a gaping hole.
And we took some of that in communication classes up to the advertising and public relations students.
Oh, really?
A little bit of it.
More how to interpret it, probably not the technical side of how to set it
Right, how
up.
to, well, some of them know how to do that. a little
It's
bit.
not very hard.
Yeah.
The setup is
Yeah.
actually, Google
I
makes it
probably
really easy.
don't know how, but they can
You
do
snip a
that.
couple pieces of code and put on a few pages, and what's really the hard part is, interpreting that data
Mhm.
and testing it and trying to increase your conversion rates and driving more traffic and things like that, which are, like I said, I think we're doing a disservice to students that are going out in the marketplace if they're going to work for companies that are trying to convert traffic to customers, which is most of their, unless they're going to go work for the government or maybe something like that.
Do you see yourself putting that into the entrepreneur mind?
No, because I think you guys can teach the technical side of it, where they can really, because the nice thing about doing the design and understanding analytics is you can create the A/B tests and then run them, and then look at the results and then change the design to reflect the results of the test. So you could do all of it yourself, which again is hugely valuable to companies. You wouldn't need to have a marketing person, or you can just run these tests all day long on your own. That's what you guys do, right, with your stuff. And so I teach, so in the internet marketing class that I teach, that's one night of 8. And I have an analytics person that comes in, and he's an expert, and it's only one night, and we always say, gosh, this could be a whole class, Same with search engine optimization, that could be a whole class, and search engine marketing. And so but analytics is the most natural tie-in to computer science, just because there is some technical nature to it. You're involved with some code, you're involved with some of the back end.
But like you said, this is more than just computer science. This is really needing, we haven't even talked about the artistic aspect of trying to put a pretty page together, for example, right? There's a business sense to it too, right? How do you, and that's always potentially difficult in an institution like this, where you're trying to take little pieces from different places and put them together potentially. Could be that they have to go to their, I live the minor, and they have one night they have to go to your class and do some analytics, or they have to go talk to Cherie's class for 2 weeks to whatever to do some of the stuff for Google Analytics, or we put it in all put it all in one class or whatever.
Well, have you guys ever seen the pictures of which page converts more? and more customers. I mean, one of the things that's great about analytics that is kind of an eye-opener for a lot of folks is a lot of times it's not the prettier page. So there's kind of there's some bad information there that if you can, the ones, and designers particularly, they get kind of emotionally attached to the beauty of what they design, may not convert the best. And so, in fact, a lot of times it doesn't. Things that are perceived as ugly or not as polished or whatever, sometimes more customers do the desired action. And like I said, that can be whatever. That can be dialing a phone number, signing up for an email, newsletter, making a purchase, reading an article, sharing on social media, whatever the bottom of your funnel is supposed to be. So, but that's again the beauty of analytics. It is 1 or a 0. It is black or white. There is no gray area.
They either got to your goal or not.
Yeah, it's either 50.001% or more or less. I mean, there is a winner every time. So.
Interesting though, I just.
Yeah, I need to
talk
get
about
Okay,
this.
yeah, thanks. I've got allergies. Ooh.
Greg Anderson, who went down to BYU, is just finishing a semester of analytics course. Actually, it's a graduate course. And I was just talking to him yesterday about it, and they've decided, after teaching a semester, that it maybe belongs in marketing instead of information systems, because, and his argument was the technical aspects of it are so easy to do.
It is really pretty easy.
Then, he taught them how to set it up and how to do it, and then they had 12 more weeks. And so then they started getting into how do you read the results, how do you set up another test, and how do you work with it. And it became, to him and some of the other faculty down there, kind of apparent that you have to have a marketing mindset more than a technical mindset to really deal with the issues. And so maybe it needs to be some kind of combined course where you can have enough technical expertise to handle the setup and set up the test, but really who's interested in the results, and it ends up being the people but I don't know, that was just.
So my thought on that is absolutely, but I think it's not either or. I think the marketing students should understand analytics, and I think computer science, IT students, most of them, like I said, there's some that'll never make it past the server side that won't get to that far down the stack. But, I mean, so I think it'd be great to have that one class, and have both sets of majors be able to take it, and encourage both sets. And the great thing would be is if you had, let's say you had 30 students in class, 15 of them were marketing students, and 15 of them were computer science, IT students, and they were working together, guess what? That's a reflection of what's going to happen to them when they graduate, of who they're going to be working with, and who they're going to have to learn to get along with, and all that kind of stuff. And that'd be a really good experience, I think. So it'd be cool to have that class and maybe have it reside. I still think it probably should reside here because it's more of a natural fit. Again, I'm just saying, if you want to equip your graduates with kind of the biggest tool set, nobody's going to be hurt by having taken that analytics class. They're not going to say, oh my gosh, that was a waste. You're right, it's not a traditional, it would only need to be one class. You wouldn't need to go on and on.
The last step of it too is after you figure out what to do, then you actually do it, and you start the process over again, and the computer science students would have the skills.
It's very scientific though, I will say that. It sounds like this kind of marketing, artistic kind of, it's actually, the thing about analytics, it's very scientific. It's very numbers driven. You don't have an eye for it, I mean, there's no kind of gut feeling, and those, or having a business background or a marketing eye and things like that. That all goes totally out the window. It's totally driven by numbers.
So what's the major conclusion?
That you should have an analytics class that's available.
Well, no,
to
I mean,
students.
once you run the analytics,
Oh,
what's a major conclusion?
sorry, I thought you were asking me for my major
No,
conclusion.
what's an example of a major conclusion?
Okay, so I'll give you an easy example. So my software company that I left to come here for, we were trying to get business owners to apply for loans. That was the desired outcomes, to fill out and so we would throw up a version of the application, a different version in the morning, different version in the afternoon, and a different version at night. And then we would do different versions in different parts of the country as well. So they might be things, when I say different, they might be different color schemes, different sizes and placement of buttons, different text and terminology, different photos, maybe one with a video,
So
one
it is
without.
more of the design part.
Yeah, those are the only things that they can, yeah, it's all front end differences, right?
Okay.
But we would make changes on the back end too to reflect that. And then we would watch as traffic would come in. We would watch through analytics, you know, which ones did they get to the desired outcome more at once. So that would be like, so we would find out that maybe in the morning, version C would be the one that would create the most amount of signups for loans, and the afternoon version B, and in the evening version A. And the thing is, you can do that forever. You can test that for as long as there's different fonts and different words in the English language and different font. I mean, right? There's an unlimited amount, and really, you never stop testing. You never stop testing. And we tested, 3 times a day around at different time zones around the country. So what that did was, and the way that moves the needle, I mean, an extra 2% of customers, at the amount of customers we were bringing in, the kind of revenue we were generating, 2 more customers brought in an extra, or 2% more, customers making it down to the part where they signed up to do it, was an extra $5,000 a day in revenue.
Okay.
That was a lot, right? So we had a lot of customers. We had 30, 40, 50,000 customers a month coming through the funnel. So anyway, now that's not the case. Sometimes it'll be more than that. The larger the company, the more try. Sometimes it'll be significantly less than that. But it's always, it's those incremental little teeny improvements. So that's something that, and I can tell you, so I'm thinking back to our technical team in that company, and the ones that knew how to kind of understand, they had an expertise for sure. They had a specialty. This was your job, right? You did this. You are a PHP developer, whatever. But when they understood how analytics worked and the A/B testing worked, and they understood the interactions on the server side, and they worked with it, because they all worked in the same physical area together, they were infinitely more valuable to not just for themselves, but to the company and to each other. They were more helpful and things like that. So, is that kind of an example?
That's exactly what
So, think about the creative side then, and you haven't been dismissive, but you've been basically saying, well, the analytics, being the artiste is not as critical. It does have to look good, but you're really trying to drive traffic and.
Well, it is critical still, because if you're constantly testing crappy versions, you're never going to be optimizing your conversion, right? So you have to. There's definitely the more talented you are, the higher your conversion rate is going to be, because you're going to be testing good against better and better against best versus bad against worse. So there's definitely a huge importance there to actually.
So in your view, have you seen, if I was going to divide the world into two halves, which of course is ridiculous, but the artistic folks and the computer folks, does it tend to be people that are building good web interfaces or good front end are coming from the more artistic side and learning the coding side, or vice versa, or how do you find that unique person basically? Because we've tried to do.
I've never met anybody that's really good at
Yes.
You've never met anyone that's really
That's
good at it.
really good.
Really good, like really
Yeah.
deep.
There's
It's-
people, when we hire people, it's good when they know a little bit of each other. That's
But one of them is their course.
there's
too.
never someone that's just this great developer who can also design really well.
Yep.
They either design awesome or they develop awesome, and they hopefully can understand the rest of it. But it's not.
I would agree.
I've never existed.
And you'd agree with that?
Yeah, it's very, very, very rare. And I don't think that's what you're trying to produce for people that are incredible at both. I think they've got their core interest and discipline, whatever that may be, and then you're just trying to augment it with some understanding and recognition of this other stuff so that they can.
So when you say design, where are the designers coming from?
What do you think?
We've hired 2 designers. I've interviewed multiple designers, and we hired 2 recently. Both of them were state.
Are they from visual arts? Or
I don't even know. I never asked what their degree
Yeah,
was. When you talked about portfolio, I said, "Show me what you've done," and I could see instantly how good they were because they showed.
Oh, they could be a
Yeah.
philosophy major. You don't
Yep.
know.
Yeah,
Doesn't
I don't
matter.
care. I just want to see how good they are at
Yeah,
actually doing it.
one's marketing, one's visual
So
arts,
hard.
but I do a lot more design and code, but I'm a CS major, so it
Yeah.
could be from anywhere.
But you had a hard time figuring out where to land.
Yeah, I
You
did.
were
Yeah,
originally a
I-
business major,
yeah.
and then so I think it was
It's okay.
yeah.
In our experience,
He saw the light.
it's been a lot harder to find design than developers,
Yeah.
by far, actually.
Design's a tougher skill to teach.
Yeah.
Right? When
that's why-
you're learning programming or coding, there's kind of a path. You learn this stuff in this sequence, and we've got a program for it. Design is more artistic in nature. So I think, I mean, now, I can't see somebody being a good front-end designer and being totally horribly inept at art. I mean, I think you'd have to have some, doesn't mean you can do watercolor and charcoal and pencil drawings and all that kind of stuff, because most of it's on the
But you know,
computer.
you need to know your color theory and your typography.
Yeah, and have an interest in it too, right? I mean,
Yeah,
you know, that's something
yeah,
like,
not forcing it.
yeah, so I mean, there's some, yeah, right. So there's, my guess is it's definitely more the creative, artistic types for sure that are, but again, what we were talking about here is more of a, you know, augmenting your technical folks that are not. So to what Matt was saying earlier, we're saying, look, you were not trying to turn them into artistes that have this great creative mind. You're trying to just get them so that they can understand it and have some appreciation for it and speak some of the language so that they'll be more of a...
But it could go the other way too, where you have the artistic folk who just want to have that. You want someone that has some sort of technological understanding. Would the minor be useful for somebody like that?
Oh, yeah.
Could it play both ways, or do you have to play to one versus the other?
You could make the minor like we've done with entrepreneurship. You could make that available to just about anyone, you know,
Yeah.
and go off the thing that, hey, we don't care what college you come from.
Of course, the more you do that, then the less you have to have prerequisites. You can't have too
True.
many prerequisites, so
Yeah,
you
true.
have certain level of coding, for example, for doing back end.
Yep.
You have to do.
And that'd be okay. I think you could require a few.
Hmm.
You know, that'd be something to think about for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. It's too bad our
Yeah.
person that's visual arts is not here.
Yeah, that would, I think that would
And
help
English,
some people.
because we've talked, you know, we had a week of talking about fonts and stuff too. There's a lot you could play with
Oh, yeah.
But
language.
it's true, you
and-
have to have a love for it. I mean, teaching typography to those that don't care is.
It can be pretty painful if you're not interested in that stuff, I heard, for sure. So the other part of what I was thinking about today and talking today was just kind of this entrepreneurial side of this stuff. So everything we've talked about thus far has been, you know, what do these companies want? What does the workforce want? Well, there's a whole other side of it, like these guys sitting to my left. What if your students don't want to, you know, go work for somebody else? Or if they want to do their own thing? And they could do their own thing by being a service business where they're offering, you know, consulting and they're building stuff for other people. That if they have talent, they could come right out of school and they have to have a little bit of an ability to market themselves. They can't be a total shut-in that has no communication skills whatsoever. They're not going to get business. But if they were able to have a little bit of communication skill and a willingness to kind of put themselves out there, they could be probably as busy as they want to be in terms of contract work and consulting work and stuff like that. So that's the other side, is building their own products and building their own websites and trying to generate their own money from customers buying or signing up for, you know, their own websites or downloading their own apps and things like that. That is where I think the entrepreneurship minor would be super helpful to them. So that you're getting they're getting the technical skills up here on how to design stuff and build things, but they want to build a business around that. That's what the entrepreneurship minor is for. Hey, great, come on down, take these 6 classes. We'll help you build a business around your core skill set. And so that's a whole other classes too, which I think is going to continually get larger as well. I'm sure you guys have seen that group has grown over the years. It's become a lot more popular to be an entrepreneur. It's become a lot more of a media darling kind of a thing. And it's a lot, I mean, it used to be, when I first started, you know, it was like high school dropouts did that kind of stuff. And it was not really the smart path, and it was just a high-risk thing that kind of crazy people did. It really wasn't put up as any kind of a thing to aspire to. So, and that's changed a lot over even the last just 10 years. So.
Well, with the economy too, it's hard sometimes for people to get a job with an existing organization. You have to create your own job in this economy.
They're forced into entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
right? And I tell people all the time, the other thing that's changed, there's no such thing as job security anymore. The days of working 40 years and getting a gold watch at the end are probably over for the most part. And so, you know, it used to be that you did have job security. And so the nice thing about working for yourself is if you're going to fail, you're going to see it coming. Whereas you come in Monday morning, there's a pink slip on your desk. I mean, you may have had no clue that was coming. And so there are, I mean, it still doesn't mean, by no means should everybody be an entrepreneur. In fact, it's definitely should be the minority of the working population for sure. But it does mean for those that have an interest in it and the skill set, which I think your students have. I mean, if they want to do a service business where they're willing to sell their skills, you know, they're willing to build websites for other people and build apps for other people and things like that, I think that they're going to have some of the highest success rates of any students coming out of this university in terms of their ability to start and build a business. If they want to build a business that isn't service oriented, where they're actually selling their own product, then they're going to have to have another set of skills that are augmenting their technical ability, and that's hopefully what the entrepreneurship minor will provide for them if that's the path they want to go down. So.
Okay, Alex, you're talking about the entrepreneurship minor, but I'm just thinking about, the students that are interested in establishing their own business. We'll just talk about computer science now. I can see that in them, and where do you direct them so that that's fostered and encouraged? And I guess I'm thinking about stronger relationships with the center downtown, which is going to come into play.
Yeah.
Will you guys be able to create an environment down there that I can send our students to, where this sort of thing will be encouraged? Because, like you said, not many are thinking about entrepreneurship, and a minor is structured, and so we've got that on-campus opportunity. But what about those that just want to be in that kind of, that startup environment that you had that weekend?
Yeah.
How can we sustain that and keep that going? Where can I send my students?
So two answers to that question. I should mention, let me give you a little more background on the minor. The minor is taught by all entrepreneurs who really have started and grown and built large successful companies. Two, they get the companies, right now it's going to be 4. So they're actually going to start a real company with real customers, real sales, real financials, real revenues, real HR decisions, real contracts, real legal documents. None of it's theory. It's all at the classes 5 and 6, the 4 companies that have the most product market fit or traction or whatever you want to call it, they get $25,000 in cash that they don't have to pay back unless they have $500,000 in sales. So 4 companies, $100,000 a year will get that. So it's high stakes, real world stuff. So in terms of getting it'll be a different experience than anything else they have on campus. It won't feel at all like just another minor, or at least not if I have my way. And I shouldn't say my way, that's been what's been approved so far and what's been supported by everyone else. So it'll be as real as it gets. They'll be in a college setting, but I mean, other than it's not their money. So it lowers the risk, but everything else will be not simulated. So anyway, I should mention that. But if they don't want to commit to that, they don't want to take all 6 of the classes, they don't have more money to pay for the tuition associated with that, there's 2 things. One, we made the Startup Ogden, the 18,000 square foot building downtown that opens at the end of August, it's $50 a month to get 24/7 access to everything that goes on out there. And so we did that price point with students in mind. So, we think most $50 a month is not, that's a fair amount of money for a student, but it's not insurmountable. It's not, and it's month to month, so they don't have to sign up like a gym membership or something. That gets them 24/7 access. We've got fiber speeds into the building, and we're going to have events all the time. There's startup weekends, there's hack Ogdens, there's guest speakers, there's office hours from successful entrepreneurs, and there's going to be free food, there's going to be soda fountain. There's a lot of fun, good reasons for them to want to be down there. And so for $50 a month, they'll get unlimited access to that. Showers and lockers and bike racks. So it's definitely going to be kind of the coolest place, I think, on the Wasatch Front to be in the startup environment that you described. And for $50 a month, they'll be able to access that as much as everybody else will. So hopefully that's a low enough hurdle that you can say, hey, if you're really interested in this, you have to go down there and sign up and hang out. I think we're going to do like a day pass for $10 or something. So, we can't be free.
Right.
Yeah. So.
How are you guys going to advertise it? You're going to help us make it known?
Yeah, I think
Besides word of
we've got a
mouth.
lot of, and I think word of mouth will be pretty hot once it opens, because we've got the campus stores on the ground floor that's going to have all the new Apple equipment and all the other stuff, so there'll be a lot of reasons to shop down there.
Just going back to the minor, Alex, one of the things that again, I'm taking this from our students' perspective, and I told this to Patrick as well. We've got to make sure that the entrepreneur minor isn't seen as a school of business.
Oh, no.
minor. No, this is what's going to happen. Because on the academic front, you carve out your territory and you stake your claim. And entrepreneurship is a word that is currently, trademarked by business.
Yeah.
If I tried to present a course in entrepreneurship, even Google Analytics and its connection with entrepreneurship and curriculum, it would be shot down in a second. I'm sorry, you can't use that word. So this idea of which word belongs to which college. Our students sit here up in the north end of the campus, and they see an entrepreneurship minor, and the word on the street as well as in the school of business, and you better, be business savvy to do it. They're not gonna jump on board. So right off the bat, this, because you said, and I trust you, it's for everybody. But
It
we
better
might
be for
think it's for everybody, but it's really important that at the outset that, Dean Stiegel or whatever doesn't say, or create the impression that, this is our minor.
Yeah.
It's everybody's minor. And
So-
that's a hard thing to do.
Brian,
Yeah.
in our department, we have,
Yeah, he's called this place a one-stop shop, so, you're gonna find our technical people here. As far as his approach, everything you need is in the school of business. And I understand where he's coming from. He's got a lot of good talent down there. But to open it up truly to the people who have the ideas, who have the intellectual property and want to go with it. I mean, again, I'm speaking on behalf of my students, primarily the CS students. I want to make sure they feel comfortable going down there.
Sure.
And that,
Well, so
entrepreneurship isn't.
if they're willing to do just a teeny bit of looking into it, then they'll find that out. If they just immediately associate the word entrepreneurship with the business school and that's the non-starter for them, I don't know how to help them. But if they're willing to just do a little bit of looking into it, they'll see that they only have to take one class for 2.5 days to get into it. And that's only to teach them some vocabulary and some basic financial stuff, things I think they'll be glad that, because they won't have learned that stuff in their other majors, and so it's not meant to say you're not as good. Because I think I would say to them, if the shoe were on the other foot, and they wanted to get into the UI UX minor, they'd have to take several more prerequisites because they're not qualified.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think the best way we can do it is just by making it very easy for them to say, look, this is meant to be available to everyone because there are no prerequisites except for if you have no business classes, you have to take this one all-day Friday, all-day Saturday class, and that's it. So I don't know how else to do it other than to,
Well, I think
you know what I'm saying? And then I'm planning on actually going around and talking to, and seeing if some of the professors in the different colleges will give me a few minutes to talk to these classes, 5 minutes to just say, let me tell you about this new minor, those of you who might be interested in it. And also, all of the people that are teaching the entrepreneurship program, none of them are business school faculty. They're all adjunct.
See, I had a student in my business communication class this morning who gave a presentation on freelancing. So, see, that's the same thing, isn't it? So we're just using the term freelancing.
Yeah, well, freelancing is
Design,
a-
you
it's a-
typically use that
yeah.
term. And he gave the recommendation that he wanted some type of an opportunity where he could get with other freelancers and actually get the experience with it. And I'm thinking, would that, is that?
Well, if you want to start, he or she wanted to start a freelance business, right?
Yeah.
They're going to start a company, and their service they're going to offer is freelance.
Yeah, it could be more graphics, video, web
Whatever.
design, so
Whatever.
that would work, that would,
Yep.
really?
Yeah, so, see you later. So the thing that'll happen is the companies that get built in the program are the ones that find product market fit. So just because you have a great idea, if you guys can't find customers that are willing so each class is in a sequence. So the ones that get done are the ones that find the customers. And then they're the ones that get the money. And so that might not make it through. I don't know. But it's not meant to, the customers decide what businesses get to advance in the sequence, and the customers decide what ones get funded from the endowment. So, and that's the way it should be. Because one of the things, the important skills they're going to learn is how to identify a bad idea, how to identify something you should abandon and move on to the next one. So that's almost as important as identifying one that'll work. And so, anyway, there's still some things that let's say we have one that's really successful. We've got to find a way to make sure that there's the equity amongst the team members is fairly dispersed. And we've got some ideas around that and stuff. So there's pros and cons to it being real, not a simulation. So.
but the team is going to be made up of students or people with a variety of skill sets. So
They're going to self-select.
I think
They're going to
it
form
is.
their own
I mean,
teams.
That's exactly what
in
they
our
learn.
in our major, it's called business multimedia because we have the students with the technology skills, but they also want the business skills.
Yeah.
And so this will be great for our students because we've had trouble finding, the business classes that they need in order to have their own business, because you take a basic accounting class, so you have a little vocabulary, but you don't really have the skills to run a business, which is what they're looking for.
Well, one of the things I plan on doing, so once the minor makes it, I think it's made it through all the university approvals. I think it's getting ready to go to the regents, and it it should be approved there. Once it's done, I actually want, I'm gonna ask each of the deans to let me come to their next, faculty meeting. I'm gonna send out the entrepreneurship minor as it was approved in advance and say, okay, this is approved, it's gonna be live in the fall. And I'm gonna come, do a 20-minute presentation to the faculty meeting and say, hey, here's what it is, and it really is meant for your students that you're teaching. And so if you have students that are interested in starting a business around any skill set they have, including the ones you're teaching them here, then I hope you'll know that this is a place for them to go and augment there. Because it's like I said, it will always be a minor as long as it'll never be a major. It will always be meant to be low to no prerequisites and a really easy thing to bolt on to their core. So it's not meant to pull somebody out of a college and get them down to school business. It's the opposite of that. In fact, if you look at the research that's been done, most of the vast majority of successful entrepreneurs don't come from the business school. They come from other colleges. Not just here, I've just been talking nationally. So we would be totally shooting ourselves in the foot if we were trying to just make it a business school thing. We'd be missing out on the best entrepreneurs. So.
That's good. I think that, I don't know how many students even know what college we're in, honestly, but it's,
That's true.
but I suppose just, it's such a separate entity in a sense, it doesn't really need to be even associated with the business school. I mean, like you said, you're bringing people in to teach the classes, and you don't require any of the classes from business school essentially to,
No.
there's that one little prerequisite, which
Yeah, but
is.
it's not taught, it's not a business school course.
Right.
I think the reason it's there is because Alan Hall said, I want an entrepreneurship program, just like he had
Right.
a technical sales program. And, entrepreneurship program is in the business school in every college in America. That's just kind of the way it is.
They could be
So-
anywhere, though. It could be directly to the provost or whatever. I mean, the thing is,
That'd be weird. It's not like that anywhere that I've ever seen. But
well, I'm just trying to go off of what Brian was saying, the idea that it's really everybody's minor potentially, which is what you want.
yeah, well, and like I said, I think the best way we can do that is by saying, making it really easy for people to take and making sure that it's a minor, right? It's meant to, you
But
can't.
if it's successful, then there may be some lessons there for doing something like what you're talking about with the UI, UX.
Yeah.
minor.
And see,
So-
to be fair, I think that if you were flipping that, you were offering a minor in UI UX, I think you should have more prerequisites than the entrepreneurship minor has. So even though you want to be, I don't think that's as inclusive. I think that should be more exclusive.
Mm.
And there, I think you should have a higher bar to get into it. So it doesn't mean, but I think the entrepreneurship we want as low a bar as possible so that everybody feels comfortable and welcome. And so anyway.
I think the biggest thing too, we did something really similar a couple of years back with a student club called Le Guild, and we were focused on mobile programming, mobile development. And we really wanted to get students from all different disciplines. We really wanted students from visual arts, we wanted students from College of Health Professions that had ideas for mobile applications, and we wanted to see them come together. And what we found is the students the few students that came from outside of computer science, they were the ones that were really entrepreneurial minded. They'd had some experience, but usually that experience and that exposure could come from at some point, some other mentoring source. So I think that if there's really strong faculty recommendations and, in those one-on-one, those in front of the classroom type moments to say, hey, you're not a business person, and when you get a job or if you go an entrepreneurial route, this stuff is going to help you no matter what you're doing. Go explore it, go take a look at it, and when students kind of get that approval and get that okay, then they start engaging it. And that very first semester we had that group out there, we got a few, but then following semesters when there wasn't that word out there and there wasn't anyone really talking about it and publicizing on campus, and it just collapsed into just computer science majors, and it didn't quite serve as much purpose because it was just another computer science club sort of thing. And so then we transitioned it to just more of an internship thing.
So I'll just end with this. I'm going to use Aaron as an example. Two things regarding kind of the stake the claim and kind of working with that stuff. I don't even think about that stuff. It's just not even in my DNA, and I don't think it ever will be. So and I'll use Aaron as an example. He was like, this is my major. I'm in the business school. What do you think I should do? What did I say after we talked about it for a while? Yeah, I told you you should
Oh.
come.
Oh,
Your
yeah,
science.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't care, I mean, and I
Yeah.
work in the business school, right? I mean, that wasn't the right fit for him. So I don't care about any of that stuff. In my mind, in terms of managing this, doesn't think about that stuff. And so, the other thing I would say though, is now that he's in computer science as a major, I would guess that I probably spend more out of class time with Zarin than any professor in the computer science program does, because he wants to talk to me about running his business and entrepreneurship. And I'm not gonna try and get him to come back because he comes down and meets with me and we talk and we email and all that stuff. I don't care. And so I think that's hopefully a good attitude to have, that look, the right place for him to be for his major is computer science. But when he wants to talk about entrepreneurship and his business that he's running, I don't want to put words in, but I think he comes to talk to me. He doesn't go talk to, his JavaScript professor or whatever, right? So, and that's the way I think it should be, because
Yeah.
that's what their skill set is, this is what my skill set is, and we're trying to help them together to be as successful as possible. And so that's how I view kind of the world. And I'm director of the program, so I'd like to think I have some say in where it goes. So I'm going to be spending a lot of time, though, once it's approved, come and do a presentation to faculty in all different colleges. And then I'm going to spend some time actually going to individual classes that I think have a higher likelihood of having students that are interested in entrepreneurship in them, and kind of saying, hey, if this is you and you're interested in this, then I want you to know that this is now available. And I'm going to do that probably a fair amount to try and get the word out. I'm hoping over time that others will do it on my behalf.
Yeah.
As you recognize this in your students, and as they ask you questions, you'll feel good about saying, yeah, just like I felt good about telling Zarin, no, you don't belong in business school, man. It's the wrong place for you. You belong up here.
So I hope you didn't misunderstand. I
Well, no, what you're saying is correct,
But
though.
what
I've seen
happens in
it.
an academic world
Oh, yeah.
sometimes starts to collapse.
It drives me crazy.
Yeah, and then,
Well, and we're more compartmentalized than our students are. I mean, our
Mhm.
students
Yes.
take classes from all of
Yes.
us, but we have these little places that aren't as flexible.
right.
Yep.
And I want this to succeed as much as you do. And,
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, when a student graduates, if you look at the alumni that are most helpful to your college when they leave, most of them are successful entrepreneurs, or not all of them, most of them. And they're not gonna, and so if they had a positive experience at Weber State, regardless of when they got it, they graduated from your program, they're gonna have, there's gonna be some benefit there down the road. People say, well, why are you taking equity in these businesses? Because that's the standard kind of thing, and I'm saying, because I think there'll be other ways that they might pay back the university without it being in a contract. So if we really help them start a company, when these guys are rich, I know they're gonna make big donations. So, anyhow.
Good point.
Yeah, so that's all I've got.
Well, any other last questions before, we've already 40, so.
Why don't I ask one real quick? So, do the UI people write the content?
Yeah. I think they can. I don't think you could have marketing people write the content. Depends on the size of the company, really.
I've read articles about companies that make decisions between two designers based on which is the better writer. I would say it's really important.
Yeah, I mean, I will say as a hiring decision, I've always said generically, regardless of what position they're hiring for, when in doubt, hire the better writer. We think it's hard, this sounds really harsh, but I've always said it's hard to be stupid and write well.
That's very true.
Yeah, right? I mean, your IQ has to be at a reasonable level if you can write well. So I think that's a skill set that probably every college should be. You should be able to write reasonably well when you graduate from college, regardless of what your degree is in. So, but marketing speak and writing well it can be argued. Those are two different things. So I see what you're saying. But a lot of content is just good English, good grammar. It's not all whiz bang, fancy words in some special order, So anyhow.
Well, great.
Thanks for letting me come up.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Alex, it's been fun.
Yeah. I'd shake your hand, but I don't know if I got cold or if I, yeah, I don't want to give you whatever I had sneezes when you're.
Thanks, guys.
Always good to see you fellas.
Well.
Nate and I had a really good heart to heart. I went down to some